Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Cheap Seats. My name is Mpho Mutlani, and we are your weekly Premier League show that discusses all things happening in the Premier League. This week, as we've done with the last week, we've got a competition running with Classic Shirts ZA. Just want to have a chat, put up the logo at the top. Here it is, right next to me. That's what it is. We're running a competition with cheap seats, with Classic Shirts ZA. This is what you can win. All you need to do is follow the 3 instructions. I'm going to put them up at the top. Like this post on our One World Sports Radio Instagram page. After that, tag a friend, 1 comment, 1 entry. We've already got a lot of entries, but your entry comes in. You can tag as many friends as you want, because it's seemingly that's how everybody's going to want to win this thing. And then on top of that, Classic Shirts on follow Classic Shirts on Instagram and follow us on YouTube, because we're going to check all 3 places to make sure that you have done the right thing. And so we've got all these auditors around me. I don't want to put myself in the group, but they will be the ones who'll be sorting it out. They've already collected a lot of the entries. They're waiting for the final few because the competition ends on the 10th of December. If you don't want to be in the competition, you can also go to Classic Shirts ZA and have a look at this, what I call the tablecloth. The tablecloth series on Manchester United. This is a away kit. It's a beautiful away kit. If you love Manchester United and you love it, it actually looks very nice. If I didn't support the Arsenal, I'd probably buy it. But if you wanna go and splurge for Christmas, that would be it. Classic Shirts has got you going.
It does look like a bit of a Christmas tree design, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Isn't this the one they try to copy this season?
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah,
so you can get the original.
I think they still have the special Classic Shirts. If you buy the current season one and that one, I think they give you a good deal on both of the classic and the modern take on that shirt.
So those are our show sponsors for the day. Let me just put up the banner next to me to make sure that you guys know. Always go there. Really, really lovely shirts. Now, guys, Wahid and AB, I'm going to go quickly to you. New manager bounce. You're loving it. So Carrick the undefeated. Ralph is wrecking everything right now, even though he didn't do much. It's all Michael Carrick. How are you feeling, Wahid?
Yeah, good. I don't think it was all Michael Carrick, because I think that system changed remarkably from the Arsenal game to the Palace game, and we actually saw it change within the game. The players, I think it was after 10, 15 minutes, you saw Darren Fletcher come to the sideline and just remind them of the change in tactic, because they had fallen into a 4-3-3, and that isn't how Ralph had set them out. Ralph wanted them in a 4-2-2. So I think the players, although they had been trained for a day or day and a half in how Ralph wanted to play football, they were maybe not mindful of it. So it did scream Ralph Rangnick, and it didn't scream Michael Carrick. It was very, very different. United won the ball 12 times in the opposition final third, which hasn't happened since Alex Ferguson. So I enjoyed the energy. I enjoyed the vertical passing lines. I enjoyed seeing the overload in the central areas and allowing the wide players, Teles and Dalot, to exploit the flanks. It was good to see. The players obviously played well in patches. They couldn't maintain that for the whole game because they haven't been trained in this way for a while, and that's going to happen. It will be a slow integration because we have games every 3 days. There's very little time on the training fields to implement what Ralph wants. But I see he's bringing in his own men and his own coaches and his own psychologists, which Man United have never had. Believe it or not, a big club like Man United have never employed a mental health coach or psychologist, which I think is bizarre. So let's see how it goes. And I know he's bringing in a bunch of Yanks, so we're seeing the full Ted Lasso effect at Man United at some point.
Ted Lasso. AB, not so detailed analysis. How are you feeling? Well, he gave us the entire Ralph Rangnick playbook, which is why we love him. But how are you feeling after the past week? Actually, it was Fred's best week ever.
It was Fred's best week ever. Look, I think Ralph needed a win. He got the win. It wasn't pretty. Palace could have equalized. Palace could have even won. I don't think we tested their goalkeeper enough, but I think that will come. I don't want to say that. I don't want to go and talk about stats of since Alex Ferguson, because when Ollie took over, he was the first manager to score 5 goals since Alex Ferguson retired. So let's step away from that. But yeah, I'm very excited more about this game tomorrow night, being Wednesday night, because it now gives guys like Cavani, Van der Beek, who else needs to start? I'm sure Matic will need to start. Other guys around the team to start playing football, and Ralph to really assess what can they do on the match day.
Okay, so United aside, Dean, I know Spurs played and won, and we're happy about you guys, and we'll talk about you guys when you first. Today's topic is the race for the top 4. What we saw at the start of the season was we thought United could hang with the big boys, but seemingly they struggled, and we've spoken about Ole and what's going on in Manchester United verbatim. What's happened now is that you've got a group of teams who should be there, who shouldn't be there, chasing for that one spot in what Arsene Wenger calls the trophy. The trophy that has no name. It's called the 4th place trophy. And so the 4 teams are West Ham United, Arsenal, and Spurs. If you're a Brighton fan, I'm sorry, but yeah, so Askis. However, these are the 4 teams that are currently fighting for that spot. You've got a group now, a chasing pack, chasing the top 3. They won't get to the top 3 unless if Ralph is just insanely amazing, because that's the one team. But, gents, looking at these 4 teams, we're going to go through each one of them. We're going to start with a team that's already in 4th right now, sitting pretty, playing that game. That is West Ham. We saw West Ham over the weekend win a London derby, beat Chelsea. And Dean, David Moyes is a football genius, it seems, or is he going to fall off coming through? Because these 4 teams also have some really nice games coming up through December and January.
Yeah, I mean, I think, if you have a look at what West Ham did at the start of last season, they were falling off relegation battle, it looked like. And then they all of a sudden just clicked and picked up from there, and they went on that great run, and they were top half of the table, also challenging top 4 at the end of last season. And that's just continued into this season, much to everyone's surprise. So I didn't expect they would continue that run of form, but you have a look at some of those players in that team, and they really are performing really well. Look, especially watching that game against Chelsea on the weekend, Declan Rice is just unreal in that midfield for West Ham. Like, he just does everything and anything for that team. And if you look at some of the other guys around him, obviously Jared Bowen's starting to perform. Antonio's always done well, and he's, as long as he keeps his fitness, and man's keeping fit, so doing pretty well there. And even the back line, I think a lot has to do with their acquisition of Kurt Zuma in the summer. He's really solidified that defense from a West Ham perspective. He's injured now. So we'll have to wait and see. But they went and beat Chelsea. So not an easy thing to do. They went and put 3 past them, which I think is the first time this season, or I heard some crazy stat that no one's put more than 1 goal past Chelsea, I think it was, in the season. Fair enough. Masuaku's goal at the end there, very lucky. Mendy having a bit of a howler over the weekend. But I think they've gone through a tough run of fixtures. Liverpool came out of that with a win, and then obviously now Chelsea. So they know what they can do, and I think West Ham are starting to build that belief. And some of the fixtures coming up, I mean, it's Norwich, Southampton, Watford around that Christmas period, and you backing West Ham to win every single one of those games. The only tough one they have is Arsenal.
Are you? Because they've done well against the likes of City and Liverpool, but then they've come unstuck against the likes of Wolves, which is very, very David Moyesy, to maybe struggle, to maybe win games where you shouldn't win and lose games where you should.
And I think that's the next point that we need to actually discuss, is exactly that. They've got draws against Brighton,
lost
to Brentford. It's not really.
Hey, everybody loses to Brentford.
They lost to Man United, guys. That's a shocker of the team right there.
So the thing is, if you look on paper, exactly like we're saying, they should win those games, but whether or not they can, or whether or not they actually go in and do it, they play on like the 18th, the 26th, and then the 28th. That's not a lot of time to kind of turn around, and it just takes one or two injuries, especially to the front line at West Ham, I think, and that's their team derailed.
He'd always time too high right now.
No, they're not so high. They play good football. They're good value for where they are at the moment. But I suspect that what we'll see is that West Ham have a slightly thin squad, and in that race for top four, we'll probably see that teams who have better squads and are able to manage their players better probably rise to the top. So I suspect the likes of Spurs, Arsenal, and Man United will eventually catch and go ahead of West Ham in and around this time. And as I said, West Ham are a type of team who they exactly like Moyes' Everton. They're plucky. They beat the big boys and then like almost just come unstuck against teams that they should beat. And it's probably something to do with the mentality of the players. But I think they will eventually be caught, but they are flying right now, and they're quite enjoyable to watch. I will say this though, Mpo, you mentioning a top four where you're almost assuming that three positions are solidified. And if we look at it, of Chelsea's last 5 games, they've only won 2. And I know they've got 8 points on 5th, I think.
Yes, they do. 34-27.
6 points. 6 points on 5th.
6 points on 5th, but I don't think that is insurmountable when it comes to Chelsea. Chelsea are 1 or 2 midfield injuries away from being very ordinary. They don't have a stacked midfield, and if they're relying on that, they could come unstuck and start being pulled into that 4th place battle.
Oh, but they've got Saul, so don't worry. Saul's it's okay. It's okay. He's going to be covering it. But I thought about including them. My problem was like they're 6 points away. The problem was with these teams around, they somehow find a way, and I'm going to go to the next team, which is Manchester United, AB. Somehow find a way of, as Wahid says, not winning the games you're supposed to, but winning the games that you're not supposed to win. And you end up fighting amongst each other. And that's what we saw last week, Thursday, between Arsenal and Manchester United. It was one of the worst quality football games we saw, but it was teams just boxing each other out. And my point is with Manchester United, this new manager bounce is happening. And now you're there. You're in 5th. Spurs is in 5th, but you're in 6th. And, it's looking good for Ralph. Is Manchester United, can they turn it around? Because we thought you'd be there. In top 4, sealed. We don't need a fight. It's Arsenal and Spurs fighting for number 5. What can this ship be turned around, and what needs to happen?
I mean, I think of course the ship can be turned around. Unlike West Ham, United have a squad that is stacked, and this squad knows that they're underperforming. I'm sure Ralph would have made it clear. I'm sure Carrick would have made it clear when Oli got the boot. And the whole point of firing Oli was to ensure top 4 survival, among other things. We're looking at United's fixtures ahead, and I'm going through it. It's Norwich. I don't care where they're playing Norwich, they need to beat them. Brentford away, beat them. Brighton at Old Trafford, you're going to beat them. You're playing Newcastle, then Burnley, then Wolves, then Villa. Then West Ham is tricky, but it's West Ham. United should always be beating West Ham, especially at Old Trafford. Then Burnley, then Southampton, then Leeds. Again, another hard game. But maybe we'll only score 4 against Leeds this time because Leeds don't defend. Then Watford. So there's some revenge there. And I'm sure Ralph would be targeting that. And that's the end of Feb. So between now and the end of Feb, Ralph needs to be targeting 4 points. Yes, we can accept a draw here because as you can see, when United come up with this 4-2-2-2-2-2-2 formation, it's easy for teams to just say, you know what, we're going to match that and we're going to counter press you. We're going to do all sorts of things because we don't want to concede. So I feel like United will need to take the games by the scruff of their neck and try and outright win it. But I think we'll see a lot of opposition teams trying to park the bus against United just to hold on to a point at the start of games. But I, as a United fan, the squad is underperforming. We've got Varane to come back, Pogba to come back, Wahid. and Cavani, who's not featured in a couple of games. So there's a lot of talent there. I would be very confident as a United fan before that City game under this new management, because that's why he's been brought in, to get these 36 points, in my opinion.
Wahid, is it 36 points or nothing else? Because 36 points effectively
30
then...
plus.
No, but the teams you just rattled out, those are very winnable games. Are you as optimistic as AB that Manchester United will go and hold this top 4 race by the scruff of its neck, and come January when everyone's at AFCON, United's sitting pretty and they've opened up a gap?
Look, I'm always hopeful, and I think I am a very optimistic supporter. So my hope is that United are able to get 30, 33, 36 points, but realistically, that assumes that form is changed like that, and like this is a team who just got their asses handed to them by Watford. It's not a team who've been going toe to toe with Bayern Munich and coming out on top. I suspect there'll be a manager bounce, but I think there'll be some teething issues. And I suspect what we'll also start seeing is maybe injuries to some players. Ralph maybe expects a different style of football, maybe a bit more heavy metal than some of the players are accustomed to, and maybe we'll see injuries. So we can never be certain. And yeah, I'm not sure that we'll see that flick of the switch and form just change where we go on a run of 9 wins. Nothing's impossible, but I would be surprised if we came out of that with a completely clean slate. But let's see how it goes. I'm always hopeful, and that, as AB said, that's what he's been brought in to do, to win these winnable games. Yeah, let's see.
Imagine what it says about you to be fired because you couldn't win winnable games. Speaking about a manager who couldn't win winnable games, Nuno couldn't win winnable games. Dean, your Spurs side has a bit of a new... It doesn't feel like it's a new manager bounce, because every time I see Spurs results or watch Spurs, it's either they're losing or drawing, but somehow when I'm not watching, they're winning a lot of games. And
so
now they're
watching.
sitting in... Well, maybe I should. Maybe I should start watching this Thursday. But it doesn't feel like it's a season that Spurs should be in 5th, Dean. Because you're not playing... Harry Kane's misfiring. I don't understand why you guys keep playing the guy. I keep putting him in my FPL team. I don't know why. It's Son. Son's the man in this team. But I like, it doesn't feel like you are in 5th. How do you look at this season? Is everyone else making errors and you're just hanging around?
Yeah, I think if you have a look at, I think it's a big part of expectation versus what's actually happened. If you have a look at the squad, there was a lot of rumors about summer, especially with Harry Kane, and everyone expects the Spurs team to be doing better than what they are. Even the commentators, every single game, it's like Spurs don't look like the Spurs of old, and 100% we don't, and we're not supposed to. The big thing is that, as you said, we are 5th. We've got 25 points. We are 2 points off top 4, and we've got a game in hand because of that game in Burnley that got postponed. So call it 3 points there. If we take that, we're in 4th, and all of a sudden that table looks a lot better than maybe the reality on the ground. I think, and this is my only bit of caution, I guess, to United, is Conte came in and he took over a squad that was very flat. We were one of the slowest teams in the Premier League. We didn't run as much. And that's not an instant, like Wahid said, you flick the switch and boom, all of a sudden you start running and you start pressing and you start going and winning games. It's a process. I think Conte's getting the guys to play the way he wants to play. That's going to take time. But the pieces of the puzzle are coming together. He's getting a lot of the guys that were dead and gone to play a lot better, and people like Eric Dyer has really come into his own. Even Ben Davies is playing really well in the left centre-back role that Conte's put him in. So there are players in and around there that are playing well. I think January's transfer window is going to be massive. They're talking about 10 in or 10 in and out, so a massive outgoing and a massive incoming, which
that
is what you would expect for. Of course it will. It's Antonio Conte, and it will happen. Keep quiet for him.
Unless you're like selling everybody for the cheap. Like you're literally telling Ben.
I think
January is too difficult to do that kind of business.
They will sell.
Get a turnaround of 1 or 2.
They will sell Joe Rodon. They will sell Ndombele. They will sell Steven Bergwijn or send him on loan. There is a lot of stuff that's going to happen. I agree with you. I don't think we're going to get 10. When I saw that number, I was like, there's no ways. But there's a couple positions that do need a lot of work, and I think that's the places that they're going to target, obviously, or you hope they're going to target. So the kind of pieces of the puzzle are there. Conte is putting them together slowly, and we've seen it come with clean sheet against Brentford, fine as Brentford, clean sheet against Norwich, fine as Norwich. But you still have to get a clean sheet. So it's wins. The next couple fixtures aren't great. They aren't terrible, but they're not great either. Got Brighton, Leicester, and then Liverpool, which for all intents and purposes, you could end up with 2 points. You could end up with 6 points because obviously you're going to lose against Liverpool. But I think it's a very important part of the season for Spurs with everyone else in the other teams we mentioned having really good fixtures. They can kick on and really do well and solidify that 4th or 5th position and then kick Spurs out of the race completely. So it's a very important period for Spurs. And we need to pull things together. Now with the recent news that there's COVID outbreaks and things like that, it's just a mess. So kind of wait and see, but hopefully all things go according to plan.
AB, this looks like a team, as Dean was talking about, 10 people leaving, 10 people coming in, whatever it was. It feels like a team that's stuck in the Mourinho hurt spiral that also has a little bit of Nuno on it. Obviously, you've been through a Mourinho cycle. How long does it take for a new manager, or well, in the case of Oli, how long does it take for a team to kind of break the shackles off of that? And can the Spurs team break through all of that? Because they're not playing great football. They're there, they're 5th, but it feels like it might be a false dawn. But unless January comes and they let everyone go, it could be different.
It's such a tough question, Paul, because it's not like Mourinho broke away or left or was fired, and then they fixed the problems. You know, they had Mason and they had Nuno, managers who were just there trying to keep the ship afloat. And now Conte's come in midway through the season. Kane wanted out for a long time. He's got this COVID break. Spurs haven't been playing good football, so it's not like they could have taken the success and, ran with that, just have positive vibes. I feel really anxious about the Spurs team. Like, they're getting results. They are. But, like, what's going to happen when they, beating Norwich 3-0 is fine. But what's going to happen when you face Arsenal and lose 3-1? When you face Chelsea and lose 3-0? Because they've got Liverpool. I mean, they lost 3-0 to United.
That was Nuno, AB. That was Nuno. Come on.
Okay, that's fair.
New manager now.
But then since Nuno, you've had Leeds who cannot defend, Brentford who's Brentford, and Norwich. So it's just take that with a massive tablespoon of salt and see where you are by the end of Feb. I think by the end of Feb, you're going to have a lot to learn about this top 4 race, because United go through all their easy fixtures and are either going to be in 4th or not, and then that's where other teams can capitalize. I feel like this top 4 race is all hinged on United. And just to come back to Dean's point earlier, where he talked about like change and how it's difficult for Conte to implement change. These are Spurs players we're talking about. These are terrible players. We're not talking about Rafael Varane. We're not talking about Ronaldo. Like, but if you compare the squad, they're individual players.
Calm down.
Oh wait,
you've got Edison Sanchez. No, well, but Harry Kane wanted out long ago. Harry Kane wanted out before Ryan Mason was born. Like, it's. But yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like. Sorry, Spurs.
Are you as tough on Spurs as AB is? What do you think of Spurs?
First, I'd just like to say, AB just channeled his inner Tim Sherwood there by going, United will either be 4th or they won't. AB just got himself covered by saying they'll either be 4th or not. Top punditry there.
The more goals in order to win, you need to score goals, Wahid. That's as simple as it is.
Okay, so
that's the corner flag right there.
Spurs. I'm going to go out and say I haven't been that impressed with Spurs so far, like under Conte. And they've ground out results here and there, but it hasn't looked great. And I struggle to see the ideas behind what they're trying to do. And what you asked is what I want to say here is you asked how long does it take to break a Mourinho spiral, and if we ignore the Ryan Mason term in this, because he was there for a few games,
He was like
let's not count him as a manager. What
He was
you've
a
gone and
poor
done,
man's Michael Carrick, basically.
you've gone and replaced Mourinho with Nuno, who's a Mourinho light, and then you've gone and replaced Nuno with a Conte, who's another Mourinho. So you're not breaking a spiral of Mourinho-like stuff, because Mourinho and Conte are very similar in the way they go about their jobs, and then they're very similar in the way they fall out of their jobs, and they don't leave a squad in a very harmonious way when they leave their jobs. They don't do that. That's never been their style. They sort of leave teams that were able to win for them, but maybe not they don't leave it with a good succession in place. So far, I haven't seen Conte enough. I'm not sure if you build a team able to win for him, but you haven't broken the Mourinho cycle by appointing Antonio Conte. And I don't think anybody's going to argue with that. It's much of the same coming through at Spurs.
I'll argue with that. I'll argue with that all day.
It's not a change of style. It's not a change of approach. So if you want to talk about breaking the cycle of Mourinho, then we got to talk about going for the anti-Mourinho, which Man United tried. Didn't work long term, but it cleaned up some of the mess that Mourinho had made. And are Spurs doing that? Are they implementing something which is going to clean up the mess? Or are they just going to build on a mess and carry on to try and win something for this, like, at some point, because they need to, and then carry on with their lives? Is that going to leave the squad? Is Conte going to leave the squad in a good space for someone else? So I'm not sure they are breaking that cycle of Mourinho by appointing Antonio Conte. I will say this: I think appointing Antonio Conte is a panicky decision. It's not born out of long-term football approach. It's born out of absolute panic, which they were. They were panicking. When you get thrashed,
you and AB are on another level today. You guys won one game in the Premier League, and now
United
we've won two.
This is not about Manchester United.
Wait,
this is where your false confidence is coming from.
This is a panicky decision. Man United have made panicky decisions in the past. I'm not talking about Man United. I'm talking about Spurs. Appointing Antonio Conte is a panicky decision.
My point here is in that game at the Toilet Bowl that you won. Had you not won, wouldn't Manchester United have done the exact same thing Spurs did?
You know you would have. You know you would have.
Appointed Antonio Conte. I think I've read enough to say that the board were completely against appointing Antonio Conte, which is maybe why they held on to Ole a bit too long, but they did not want to appoint Antonio Conte.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. We've got one more team to go through.
At least we can all agree on this one. Terrible.
Yeah, terrible.
Guys, there's something happening here. Something's happening here.
Trust the process.
Yes, and the process has led us to a place where I didn't think Arsenal could be this season. I didn't think that we could be in seventh, or previously before the Everton game, we were sitting around in fifth, looking to fight for top four. We're a couple of points off. I never thought the squad would get here. The squad
Sorry, I'm jumping in right there. You can't spend the most in England in the transfer window and then say I wasn't expecting us to be seventh.
No, I knew what we were getting into. The guys they bought are not winning now.
That's revisionism.
It's not.
You weren't expecting seventh after the biggest transfer spend in England.
I was expecting eighth and possibly a backdoor into Europe. I wasn't.
They didn't buy players for this season, though. No one thought they bought players for the season.
Like, the players we bought are not winning now. It wasn't an Aubameyang 2 years ago looking to try and solidify top four. It wasn't when we bought Lacazette 4 or 5 years ago. We thought this guy was the guy. No, it doesn't work out that way. When last season, when they bought Thomas Partey, they were buying Thomas Partey to try chase top four because you needed to solidify that back four. It didn't work out because you had Aubameyang, you had Partey. This guy has literally gone and said, we're buying 25 and younger, and we're not building for this season. We're building for a few more seasons. And even if we didn't get top four and we came like seventh or or wherever it was, it would have been oh no, but the squad has improved because last season we finished in 10th. And so that's where I'm sitting at right now, is that I understand where the board is trying to go. I understand where Arteta's trying to go. It's frustrating, yes, but I did not expect to see Arsenal at this point in the season a few points off of top 4. I did not expect that, especially after the horrible start we've had.
After getting hammered by City 5-0. That was terrible.
Exactly. And so where this team is, it feels to me like it is a bit of a false dawn, because I know the coaching is substandard because the product isn't great. The kids have promise, but the only good thing I can talk about at Arsenal is that back five. That back five is a very good back five, and they're keeping us in games. Anything above that, you've got Saka, you've got ESR, they're great. But outside of that, everyone else is just, it feels like there's another edition of the squad that needs to go through to go into top 4. If you look at all the squads of the teams we've spoken about, this is the worst squad. No, West Ham has a better squad. West Ham has a guy who can score 15 goals a season. That's Antonio.
So do Arsenal.
Dude, Arsenal. Have you seen Aubameyang?
Yeah, that's just him now. But he scored 20.
He can score.
He scored
like a goal.
So that's my.
Is Pepe still an Arsenal player?
No, he's not. He's chilling on the bench. He's chilling somewhere. I don't know where he is.
No, but this is the point. Like, you've got Pepe, who's attracted a world-class player fee. Lacazette scored 20 last season, and Aubameyang has scored 20 plus historically. You've got the goal scorers. They're just not working.
It's not working in the system. And which is why the problem with this team is the coaching. It's the way in which Arteta wants to play, and the way in which these players want to do stuff. Because you're sitting there going, guys, I don't understand. Because we started the season, it was funny enough, when Arteta's winning games, our wing backs are playing triangles in the corners, and they're trying to get through into the box. When we're playing at Manchester United last week, and Everton and everybody else, our wing backs are sitting a lot deeper and a lot flatter, and you're like, but is this what you wanted? And so the problem I have with this team is, yes, fantastic set of results after that first 3 games of the season. That's fine. We're a little bit higher than we're where we're supposed to be, but we're a little bit closer than to top 4 than I expected us to be. Maybe let me qualify my statement like that. But I look at the squad. There's a lot of iterations for the squad that need to come through, especially at the top of the park. But I see that he's going to try and force feed this team, that the 11 that he has, the 13 players that he has throughout the next few seasons. And that, for me, is the thing. I don't think we'll make top 4. I do think we're going to do Conference League next year, if possible, at 7. But I don't even think this team is good enough to win the FA Cup unless if you get some runs, some wins here and there, some lucky wins going through. Because it has no spine to me. It has no.
Or is this team better than last season's Arsenal?
Yes, they are. So 10-7.
The results don't say so.
Results don't say so.
Yes,
the results against the same teams do not speak to Arsenal having improved after a huge outlay.
Yes, the personnel is better, but the results aren't there. And that's my biggest worry, because I know what these kids can do. It's just I'm sitting there going, is this truly what we're going to be living with for the next 4 years?
But look, kids take time.
Yeah,
kids take time.
You can't at a big club like Arsenal being one of the 3 biggest clubs in England, you can't completely sacrifice the present for the future. That can't happen at a club like Arsenal. It's happened.
But the board's doing it though. The board is doing it. They've done it. Like it's
like they bought that Nuno Tavares. He's left wing back, right, Paul?
Yeah.
Well, the day Kieran Tierney falls over, and Kieran Tierney's like 22, 23. Like, the kid's not going to break into the squad. So, like, they've bought
that is mismanagement at a club like Arsenal.
They've bought people that could be great in 2 or 3 years. But having said that, they could also easily be terrible.
The problem comes is in 2-3 years.
Might never come. It might always be 3 years away.
Never come. Exactly.
And then ESR, Saka, Ben White will probably want to move. You know, the big name youngsters, and that's the worry here.
Which
ESR
is why
and Saka should move if Arsenal don't do anything in 2 or 3 years. They deserve it.
I think next season they should start looking to move if they don't.
I mean,
because
they can see what happens if they don't engineer a move in Harry Kane, a bright young talent, not moving. It's dangerous, very dangerous.
Yeah, but at the point,
what we're also seeing is more and more players understanding the value of their contracts. So if a player like Saka or ESR or Pogba isn't enjoying what's happening at their club, forget a transfer. They're all young enough to run a contract down and be like, right, we'll move. We'll move at the end of this contract. At that point, Arsenal have played this long game in terms of, we'll be good in 4 seasons' time. But in 4 seasons' time, you haven't improved. All your players are leaving on a free. It's not going to help.
A massive
the problem is right now we've been found out by Rafa Benitez. And I get Manchester United, and I look at Manchester United's squad, and I'm like, well, they should have actually won in the first place. Well, how we beat you guys last season at Old Trafford still baffles me.
It's not a Man United discussion. This is an Arsenal discussion.
I know, but you said Manchester United gets clicks. That's why we're bringing it back to United. But against Everton, the biggest issue I have is that you have such a very young core of players, and your senior players are all formed. Partey's leaving to go to AFCON. Aubameyang's leaving to go to AFCON. Pepe's nowhere he's nowhere to be seen, but he's leaving to go to AFCON. That leaves you with Lacazette, Sambi, El Neni's also going to be gone, so Xhaka's going to be playing. This team's going to probably spiral in at the end of December. Oh man, that's the best right back I've ever.
Okay, calm down.
Just joking, I love Tomiyasu. He's great, but he's not that great.
Thank God Seppo isn't here because he would have fought you, right?
The thing is that all I want to say is, all you have to do to beat Arsenal right now is push. All you have to do is put a little bit of pressure on that back five or some of those young kids, midfield. Fall apart. That's all Everton did.
That's not right now. Don't use the words right now. That's been the case since 2010.
Fact.
I know.
Fact.
Patrice Evra says that he used to call Arsenal our babies because just bully them a little bit and they panic. They can't play in the face of a physical team. So there's a blueprint to beating Arsenal. It's not that hard. So it really needs to be worked on. And is Arteta going to work on that? Because he is Pep's cone placer, and I don't think he believes in becoming a little bit physical at any point. It's all about beautiful tiki-taka, and it's not working right now. And maybe he just needs another dimension to the way Arsenal play. Maybe just get a hard man in who's going to be in your face like Patrick Vieira.
Yeah, I've wanted a hard man for a very long time. They gave me Granit Xhaka, and look what happens. He just gets red cards.
The problem is what sane player in their right mind wants to join the Arsenal out of any club in the Premier League.
Unless if you're from France and you've grown up idolizing Arsenal. That's the only way. That's the only way.
And then you look at the players that Arsenal get, and you wonder, like, if Thomas Partey was as good as he was cut out to be, why was no other club going for him apart from Arsenal?
Was that a January transfer? What was that?
It was. Yeah, January last.
50 million.
But also having said that, money. Tierney's a world-class left back.
That was because of his injuries. Tavares was brought in because of his injuries. Tierney's fit now. Tavares should be sitting. Nuno's playing. It just doesn't make sense to me.
But also to a head's point, like Odegaard, great talent.
Oh yeah.
No one went after him. There has to be a reason.
And Real Madrid let him go. Remember that. Yeah. Like when Real Madrid sends you out into the world, where are you going to go?
His career arc is that one of Adnan Januzaj. That's how I see Martin Odegaard. But anyway, that's the end of our show, guys. Thank you very much for this Arsenal counseling session with a little bit of other teams there. Remember, we've got our competition going on. Please go to the One World Sports Radio Instagram and Classic Shirts Czar Instagram to enter. Follow the instructions, and we'll be announcing the winner at next week. The competition ends on the 10th, so that's going to be pretty cool. Outside of that, thank you very much to the guys. Remember, watch out for our FPL show. We've got a lot of things happening. There's an outbreak at Spurs. I don't know what's going on because I just made my transfers, but we'll find out when we get through. Have a good day, goodbye, good night, and Lesale Kakafiso.